The April sunlight streaming through my dining room windows had that particular quality of cruelty, bright enough to expose every crack in the porcelain, every thread of dust in the air, every lie on a person's face. I'd set the table with Thomas's mother's china, the good stuff, translucent Limoges with hand-painted violets around the rim, so delicate you could see your fingers through it if you held it up to the light. I hadn't used these plates since Thomas's funeral 2 years ago, and I'd sworn then I never would again. But today was special. Today, I was setting a trap. "Mom, this is gorgeous." Isadora swept into the dining room like she owned it, her heels clicking on the hardwood floors Thomas and I had refinished ourselves 40 years ago. She air-kissed both my cheeks, a habit she'd picked up from Derek, her husband, who thought European affectations made him seem sophisticated rather than pretentious. My daughter looked expensive. That's the word that came to mind. Not beautiful, though she was. Not elegant, though she could be. Expensive. The kind of expensive that came from desperation masquerading as confidence. Her silk blouse probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget, and I happened to know she'd been between jobs for 8 months. "It's lovely to see you, dear," I said, patting her hand. My arthritis made the gesture slower than it used to be, and I let it show more than I needed to. The tremor in my fingers was real enough. 70 years of life will do that to a body. But I'd learned to exaggerate it when useful. First rule of hunting monsters: let them think you're prey. Felix arrived next with his wife Vanessa, who was already filming on her phone before she'd fully entered the house. "Easter Sunday with Grandma Opal," Vanessa chirped at her screen, panning across the dining room. "Look at this gorgeous spread. So vintage, so cottagecore." I was many things, but I was not cottagecore. "Vanessa, dear, could you put that away during dinner?" I asked gently. She looked at me like I'd asked her to cut off her own hand. "Oh, but Mother Fairchild, my followers are expecting content. It's Easter Sunday. This is prime engagement time." "Your followers can wait an hour," Felix said, with the particular edge in his voice that told me they'd been fighting in the car. He kissed my cheek. "Hi, Mom. You look tired. Are you sleeping okay?" "Oh, you know," I said, shuffling slightly toward the kitchen. "Some nights are better than others. I forget to take my pills sometimes, and then I'm up all night." I didn't forget. I'd been an FBI forensic accountant for 30 years. I'd tracked money through 17 offshore accounts and 4 shell corporations. I could remember every detail of a 1,000-page financial disclosure. But they didn't need to know that. Derek was the last to arrive, and he arrived like a man surveying a property he was about to purchase. His eyes moved across the crown molding, the original light fixtures, the built-in cabinets Thomas had installed when Isadora was in middle school. I could practically see him calculating square footage, estimating property value, planning renovations. "Opal." He didn't call me Mom. Never had. "Thank you for hosting. This house really is remarkable. They don't make them like this anymore." "No," I agreed. "They certainly don't." We settled around the table. I deliberately left Thomas's chair empty at the head. His reading glasses still sat on the side table next to it, right where he'd left them the morning he went into the hospital and never came out. Isadora's eyes flickered to the empty chair and quickly away. I'd made Thomas's favorite meal: roasted lamb with mint jelly, Duchess potatoes, glazed carrots, and his mother's rolls. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was cooking a dead man's favorite meal for the children who were planning to rob his widow. "So, Mom," Felix said, reaching for the wine, "how have you been? Really? We worry about you rattling around in this big house all alone." "I'm not alone," I said. "I have my garden, my book club. Margaret comes by every Tuesday." "Margaret Sullivan?" Derek asked, too casually. "The retired judge?" He'd done his homework. Of course he had. Margaret wasn't just my best friend. She was the sharpest legal mind I knew, and she'd already helped me set up the framework for what was coming. "Yes, we've been friends for 40 years, I said. "She's been such a comfort since Thomas passed. It's just—" Isadora reached across the table and took my hand. Her skin was soft, professionally manicured. Mine was spotted with age and scarred from years of gardening. "It's been 2 years, Mom, and you're not getting any younger." This house is so much work. All these stairs, the maintenance. What if something happened and you fell? What if you got hurt and couldn't reach the phone? I have one of those alert buttons, I said, the kind you wear around your neck. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Felix jumped in. You need one of those buttons. You're at that age where what, Felix? I asked, letting a little steel into my voice. Where I might die at any moment? I'm 70, not 90. I'm in better shape than half the people at your office, I'd wager. Vanessa, who'd been pushing her food around her plate while sneaking glances at her phone under the table, decided to contribute. It's just that this house has so much value, Mother Fairchild. Equity. You could sell it, move into one of those lovely 55-plus communities, and still have money left over for what? I asked. The table went silent. Derek cleared his throat. What Vanessa means is that you'd have more financial freedom, more comfort, less stress. I'm quite comfortable, thank you. But are you? Derek leaned forward, elbows on the table, something Thomas would never have allowed. Opal, we care about you, all of us, and we've been talking about my living situation, I finished for him. Yes, I gathered that's what this dinner was really about. Isadora had the grace to look embarrassed. Felix studied his potatoes. Vanessa checked her phone. Derek, though, didn't flinch. We think it's time to discuss the future. Your future. This house, your assets, your health. We want to help you make smart decisions. Smart decisions, I repeated. I took a sip of my wine, a lovely Pinot Noir I'd been saving for a special occasion. This certainly qualified. Like what? Like transferring the house into a family trust, Derek said smoothly. Estate planning, avoiding probate, minimizing tax liability. You'd still live here, of course, but legally it would be simpler if my children owned my house while I was still alive. That's not what we're saying, Isadora protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? I looked at each of them in turn. Felix couldn't meet my eyes. Vanessa was texting under the table. Isadora looked miserable. Derek looked calculating. I reached up and touched the small cameo brooch at my collar. It had been Thomas's mother's, a beautiful Victorian piece with a woman's profile carved in shell. What my children didn't know was that it also contained a camera no bigger than a pinhead, recording everything in high definition. I think, I said slowly, playing the confused old woman, I need to talk to my lawyer before I make any decisions like that. Benjamin Shaw. Do you know him? I watched Derek's face carefully. Oh yes, he knew the name. Benjamin Shaw was famous in legal circles for being utterly incorruptible and absolutely ruthless when protecting his clients. Mom, this is family, Felix said. You don't need a lawyer to talk to your own children. Your father always said, trust, but verify. I stood up, my arthritic knees protesting genuinely. I'm sure you understand. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Derek's mask slipped, just for a second. Mrs. Fairchild, let me be clear. We're not asking out of idle curiosity. Isadora and Felix are your only children. They're your family. And frankly, he paused as if choosing his words carefully, but I knew this speech had been rehearsed. Frankly, we've been concerned about your decision-making lately. My decision-making, I repeated flatly. The fall last week, Isadora said quickly. You said you couldn't remember how it happened, and the bank called Felix because you withdrew $5,000 in cash and then called them asking why your balance was different. They were worried someone was taking advantage of you. I'd done both of those things deliberately, building a paper trail of confusion, but hearing my own daughter use it against me still felt like a knife between the ribs. I'm having some memory issues, I admitted, watching them lean forward like sharks scenting blood. Getting old, I suppose. It's frightening, to be honest. Which is exactly why you need family around you, Derek pressed. Full-time, not just Sunday dinners. Actual help. We've been thinking Felix and Vanessa could move into the East Wing. Isadora and I could take the West. You'd keep your bedroom, of course, but you'd have people here, around the clock. Doesn't that sound better than being alone? They wanted to move in. All of them. Take over my house, my life, my autonomy. I thought of Thomas. dying in that hospital bed, making me promise to take care of the children. I thought he meant financially. Now I wondered if he'd meant something else entirely. I need to think about it, I said. Mom, Felix started. I said I need to think about it. The words came out sharper than I'd intended. I let my hand shake as I set down my wine glass. I'm sorry, I'm just overwhelmed. This is a lot to process. Of course, Isadora said soothingly, shooting Derek a warning look. We understand. Take your time. But Vanessa, emboldened by wine or stupidity, couldn't help herself. We just don't want you to be selfish about this, Mother Fairchild. You have to think about what's best for the family, not just yourself. The word hung in the air like poison gas. Selfish. I looked at this woman, this stranger who'd married my son 3 years ago, and immediately started calculating the value of everything I owned. And I smiled. You're absolutely right, Vanessa, I said quietly. I should think about what's best for the family. In fact, I think I'll call Benjamin tomorrow and discuss it with him. Derek's jaw tightened, but he forced a smile. That's very wise, Opal. They left soon after, the dinner effectively over. Isadora hugged me, and for just a moment I felt her trembling. Guilt? Fear? I couldn't tell anymore. Felix kissed my cheek and whispered, Sorry about Vanessa. She didn't mean it like that. Yes, she did. Derek shook my hand, holding it just a fraction too long, his grip just a shade too firm. A power play. We'll talk soon, Opal. Very soon. When they were gone, I stood in my empty dining room, surrounded by the detritus of the meal. Crumpled napkins, wine-stained glasses, plates still half full of food no one had really tasted. I walked to Thomas's chair and sat in it for the first time since he died. Picked up his reading glasses, put them on, though the prescription made everything blur. Well, Thomas, I said to the empty room, you were right. They're coming for it. All of it. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter. Thanks for dinner, Mom. Please think about what we said. We love you. I stared at that message for a long time. We love you. Did they? Or did they love what I represented? A payoff, a solution, a convenience. I walked upstairs to my bedroom, to the closet that hadn't been a closet in 6 months. I pushed aside my winter coats and pressed the hidden switch Thomas had installed when we'd turned this space into something else. A monitoring room. The wall panel slid open, revealing 6 screens, all displaying different angles of my dining room, living room, study, and garden. Every word spoken in this house for the last 3 hours was recorded, backed up to a secure server that Benjamin Shaw's firm maintained. I sat down in front of the monitors and pulled out a leather journal, started making notes in the meticulous handwriting that had once documented fraud schemes for the FBI. Easter Sunday, 6:47 p.m. Derek Morgan stated, We've been concerned about your decision-making lately. Isadora confirmed, memory issues used as justification. Vanessa stated, Don't be selfish. Implicit threat. They will pursue incompetency claim if I don't comply voluntarily. Prediction, they will escalate. Timeline, 7 to 10 days. I closed the journal and looked at my reflection in the dark monitor screen. I looked old. I was old. 70 years of living showed in every line on my face. But I'd spent 30 of those years hunting people who thought they were smarter than everyone else. People who thought the rules didn't apply to them. People who believed that wanting something badly enough justified taking it. I'd put 17 of them in federal prison. My own children thought I was a confused old woman, a victim waiting to happen. They were about to learn that the most dangerous person in any room is the one everyone underestimates. I powered down the monitors and went to bed. Tomorrow, I'd start phase 2. Tomorrow, I'd show them exactly who their mother really was. But tonight, I allowed myself one moment of weakness. I took out the photograph from my nightstand drawer. Thomas and me on our wedding day, young and stupid and so desperately in love. Isadora as a baby in my arms. Felix as a toddler holding Thomas's hand. When had I lost them? When had my children become strangers? Or had they always been this way, and I'd just refused to see it. I fell asleep with that question unanswered, the photograph clutched in my hand, and the ghost of my husband's voice in my memory. Don't let them take advantage of your grief, Opal. Some people have to want to be fixed. I'd given them every opportunity to prove him wrong. Now I'd give them one last chance to prove him right. The insomnia started 3 months after Thomas died. Not the grief kind. I'd made my peace with losing him, as much as anyone can. This was the investigator's insomnia, the kind that came from a pattern my subconscious had noticed before my conscious mind caught up. It was a Tuesday night in October, 3 a.m, when I finally gave up on sleep and went down to my study. The house creaked around me, old wood settling, familiar sounds that usually brought comfort. That night they felt like warnings. I sat at Thomas's desk, my desk now I had to keep reminding myself, and opened my laptop. I'd been meaning to review our finances, something I'd been putting off because it felt too final, too much like accepting he was really gone. The spreadsheet loaded. Checking account, savings, investment portfolio, the small pension from my FBI years, Thomas's Social Security survivor benefits. Everything was exactly where it should be. Except, I frowned at the screen. There was a fraud alert on Felix's name, flagged by the credit monitoring service I maintained for the whole family. It was dated 2 weeks ago. I'd missed it in my grief fog. My fingers moved across the keyboard with the muscle memory of 30 years. Within 20 minutes, I'd accessed Felix's employment records through a database I technically no longer had clearance for, but whose passwords I'd never bothered to change. There it was. An internal investigation. Allegations of embezzlement. $60,000 in falsified expense reports and inventory theft. The case was being built quietly, the way companies do when they want to avoid publicity. Felix had maybe a month before they moved to terminate and prosecute. My son was a thief. I sat back in the chair, my hands suddenly cold. This is a mistake, I told myself. There's an explanation. I kept digging. Isadora's financial records were easier to access. She'd added me as an authorized user on her credit cards years ago, back when she was in graduate school and I was helping her track her budget. She'd never removed me. The charges painted a picture I didn't want to see. Cash advances, payday loans, a $180,000 personal loan from a private lending company that charged interest rates just this side of legal, and the payments were 2 months overdue. My brilliant daughter, who'd once managed a nonprofit's entire budget, was drowning. I pulled up Derek's bankruptcy filing next. Public record, easy to find if you knew where to look. Filed in Florida 3 months ago, claiming insolvency after cryptocurrency investment losses. The filing had been challenged by creditors who suspected hidden assets. My son-in-law was a fraud. The sun was coming up by the time I'd finished building the complete picture. I sat surrounded by printouts, sticky notes, highlighted sections of financial documents. The evidence spread across Thomas's desk like an autopsy report. And that's when I found it. Tucked into a manila folder labeled Estate Planning 2024 in Thomas's distinctive handwriting. I'd avoided opening it before. Now I pulled out the papers with shaking hands. It was a letter, addressed to me, dated 1 week before he died. My dearest Opal, if you're reading this, you've discovered what I suspected but couldn't prove. The children are in trouble, real trouble, and they're going to come for the house, for your money, for everything we built. I've been watching them. The way Derek looks at our things. The way Felix avoids my eyes when we talk about his job. The way Isadora has stopped calling unless she needs something. You're going to want to fix it. That's who you are. You spent your career fixing broken things, corrupt systems, fraud schemes, financial crimes. You'll think this is just another puzzle to solve. But Opal, you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. Here's what I'm asking you to do. Give them a chance. One real chance. Pay Felix's debt if you want. Clear the slate. But don't tell them. See what they do with the gift of freedom. See if they choose honesty or if they choose the easy lie. If they come to you clean, confess their mistakes, ask for help, forgive them. Help them rebuild. But if they come for you like predators, if they see your age as weakness and your love as opportunity, then you know what you have to do. You're not just Opal Fairchild, retired accountant. You're Opal Fairchild, who put 3 senators and a federal judge in prison. You're the woman who tracked money through 17 countries and brought down a cartel. Don't let our children mistake grief for weakness. I love you. I trust you. And I'm sorry I can't be there to help you with this, but I know you'll do what's right. You always do. Forever yours, Thomas. I read it 3 times. Then I pressed the letter to my chest and let myself cry. The first real tears since his funeral. He'd known. Somehow, he'd known. When the tears stopped, I dried my eyes, smoothed out the letter, and made a decision. I would give them exactly what Thomas suggested. 1 chance. But I would do it my way. The next morning, I called Benjamin Shaw. "Opal," he said warmly. Benjamin had handled our estate planning for 20 years. He'd been at Thomas's funeral, had checked on me weekly since. "How are you holding up?" "I need to make some changes to the estate," I said. "Can you come by the house tomorrow?" "Of course." "What kind of changes?" "The kind that need to be done in person." He arrived the next afternoon with his briefcase and his reading glasses and his absolutely unshakable discretion. I'd made coffee. We sat in Thomas's study, the room that was becoming the war room for what was coming. "I want to create an irrevocable trust," he said. "The Fairchild Family Trust. Everything I own goes into it. The house, the investments, the savings, everything." Benjamin pulled out his legal pad. "And the beneficiaries?" "That's the interesting part," I said. "I want to structure it so that Isadora and Felix have no direct access. No power of attorney provision. No provision for incompetency override. If I'm declared mentally unfit, the trust doesn't transfer to them. It goes to a charitable foundation." He looked up sharply. "Opal, that's unusual. Your children would have no inheritance rights at all under that structure." "Correct. May I ask why?" I slid the folder of evidence across the desk. Felix's embezzlement report, Isadora's loan documents, Derek's bankruptcy filing. Benjamin read in silence for several minutes. When he looked up, his expression was carefully neutral, the lawyer's mask. "You're setting a trap," he said quietly. "I'm setting a test," I corrected, "and I need your help to make it legal." Over the next week, Benjamin drafted the documents. We created a structure so airtight that even if my children got me declared incompetent, even if they produced a new will, even if they claimed undue influence, they couldn't break it. The house would never be theirs. But they wouldn't know that. As far as they were concerned, I was a wealthy widow with a valuable property and no legal protections. "There's one more thing," I told Benjamin. "I want to pay off Felix's debt, the $60,000 to his company, anonymously. Opal, I'm giving him a clean slate, a miracle. I want to see what he does with it." Benjamin sighed. "You know what he'll do." I hope I'm wrong, but I wasn't. The payment cleared on November 3rd. By November 5th, Felix knew his investigation had been mysteriously closed, the missing money found due to accounting errors. He never called to tell me, never confessed, never asked for help. He'd been given a miracle, and he'd simply accepted it. Assumed he'd gotten away with it. That's when I knew Thomas had been right. The security company came on a Wednesday afternoon, a small outfit recommended by my old FBI colleague Marcus Webb. The technician's name was Sarah Chen, and she'd done surveillance installations for witness protection cases. "Your grandchildren will never find these," she assured me, installing a pinhole camera in the crown molding of the dining room. Military grade, streams to a secure server, audio and video, crystal clear. We put cameras in 7 locations. Dining room in the chandelier. Living room in the bookshelf. My study in the smoke detector. Master bedroom in the picture frame. Front porch in the light fixture. Kitchen in the clock. Upstairs hallway in the thermostat. And microphones in a dozen more spots, including the one I had Sarah embed in my cameo brooch. "You planning on wearing this during family dinners?" Sarah asked, holding up the Victorian jewelry piece. I am. She didn't ask why. People in her line of work knew better. The monitoring room was Thomas's final gift. 2 years before he died, when he'd been diagnosed and we'd both known what was coming, he'd said, I want to build you a safe room, just in case. In case of what? I'd asked. In case you ever need to disappear. We'd laughed about it then. A morbid joke between a dying man and his wife. Now I stood in that room, hidden behind a false wall in my bedroom closet, and watched 6 screens flicker to life. Every angle of my house visible in high definition. Every word spoken would be captured and archived. It's operational, Sarah said, showing me the controls. You can access it from your phone, from this room, or Benjamin Shaw has backup access in case of emergency. What kind of emergency? She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. The kind where you can't get to the monitors yourself. I thought about that, about being incapacitated, about being declared incompetent and locked away while my children ransacked my home. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, I said. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and dying flowers. Thomas had been moved to hospice that morning. No more treatments, no more false hope, just morphine and waiting. Isadora and Felix had come. They sat on either side of his bed holding his hands. They looked genuinely sad. I wanted to believe it was real. Dad, Felix said, his voice cracking. Is there anything you need? Anything we can do? Thomas smiled, that crooked smile I'd fallen in love with 47 years ago. You can be good to your mother. That's all I've ever asked. Of course, Isadora whispered. Of course we will. I watched from my chair in the corner, watched my husband dying, watched my children making promises. And then I saw it. Derek was in the hallway, visible through the open door. He was on his phone, and I could read his lips. How much is the property worth? And with her Social Security and his pension? Yeah, within the year, probably. Within the year. He was calculating my husband's death like a stock portfolio. I must have made a sound because Thomas's eyes found mine across the room. He saw my expression, understood. Kids, he said softly. Could you give us a minute? Your mom and I need to talk. They filed out. Isadora kissed his forehead. Felix squeezed his hand. They closed the door behind them. Thomas waited until their footsteps faded. You heard, he said. It wasn't a question. I heard. I've been watching them, Opal, for months. The way they look at our things, the questions about the will. They think they're subtle. He coughed, and I held water to his lips. They're not coming to say goodbye. They're coming to stake their claim. Thomas, promise me something. His grip on my hand was surprisingly strong. Don't let them mistake your grief for weakness. You're the strongest person I've ever known. Don't forget that just because I'm not here to remind you. I won't. And don't try to fix them. Some people... He coughed again, harder this time. Some people have to want to be fixed. If they don't want it, you'll just break yourself trying. I can't just give up on our children. I'm not asking you to give up. I'm asking you to protect yourself. He pulled me close, his breath thin and labored. If they come for you the way I think they will, you'll know what to do. You always do. Those were the last coherent words he spoke. By evening, the morphine had taken him somewhere I couldn't follow. He died just after midnight, with me holding one hand and his reading glasses in the other, still warm from where they'd rested on the bedside table. Isadora and Felix came back in the morning. They cried. They hugged me. They made calls and arrangements and looked appropriately devastated. And while I was signing paperwork with the funeral director, I overheard Derek in the hallway again. Okay, so we wait a respectful amount of time. 6 months, maybe. Then we start talking to her about simplifying her life. Old people love that phrase. 6 months. I'd signed Thomas's death certificate with hands that didn't shake. I'd buried my husband on a cold Tuesday in October, and I'd started planning. 3 weeks before Easter, I began phase 1 of the test, making them think I was failing. Week 1, the fall. I called Felix on a Monday afternoon, my voice shaky and small. "Honey, I'm so embarrassed, but I fell this morning, down the stairs. I'm okay, just some bruises, but I thought you should know." He was at my door within an hour, Vanessa in tow with her phone already recording. "Mom, this is exactly what we've been worried about," Felix said, examining the very real bruises I'd created with makeup and a careful application of a frozen spoon. "These stairs are a death trap for someone your age." "I just missed a step," I said. "I wasn't paying attention." "See, that's the problem. The not paying attention." He exchanged a look with Vanessa. "This house isn't safe for you anymore." I let him fuss, let him take photos of the bruises for the record. Let Vanessa post about it on her Instagram. "Prayer warriors needed Felix's mom had a scary fall today. Please keep elderly loved ones in your thoughts." I wasn't a person to her. I was content. I was engagement metrics. Week 2, the bank confusion. I called my bank on a Tuesday and withdrew $5,000 in cash. Then I called back on Wednesday, pretending confusion. "I'm sorry to bother you, but my balance seems off. Did I make a withdrawal recently?" The bank manager was concerned. "Mrs. Fairchild, you withdrew $5,000 yesterday. You don't remember?" No, I don't think so. Are you sure? Would you like us to contact your family? Is there someone we can... No, I'm sure it's fine. I probably just forgot. I'm sorry to waste your time. But the bank manager did call someone, Felix, who I'd listed as my emergency contact years ago. He showed up that evening, concerned. "Mom, the bank called. They said you withdrew money and then didn't remember. That's serious." "I'm just getting old, sweetie. Sometimes I forget things." "It's not just forgetting where you put your keys, Mom. This is financial confusion. This is how elderly people get scammed. This is how they lose everything." He didn't say, "This is how we'll prove you're incompetent," but I heard it anyway. Week 3, the doctor's ambush. I had a routine checkup scheduled with Dr. Patricia Morrison, my physician of 15 years. I arrived to find Isadora and Derek in the waiting room. "Surprise!" Isadora hugged me. "We thought we'd come along, for moral support." Dr. Morrison saw through it immediately. When she called me back, Derek tried to follow. "Family only," he said. "Mr. Morgan," Dr. Morrison said coolly, "Mrs. Fairchild is my patient. If she'd like you present, she'll say so." I smiled sweetly. "I'm fine on my own, dear." The examination was routine. Afterward, Derek requested a private word with my doctor. "I'm concerned about my mother-in-law's mental state," I heard him say through the door I'd left deliberately ajar. "She's been having memory issues, falls, confusion. We think she might need a cognitive assessment." "Has Mrs. Fairchild expressed any confusion to you directly?" Dr. Morrison asked. "Well, no, but..." "Then I suggest you let Mrs. Fairchild manage her own health care. She's a competent adult. Good day, Mr. Morgan." When I came out, Derek's face was tight with barely controlled fury. "I was just trying to help," he said. "I know," I replied. "Thank you for caring." That night, I reviewed the footage from my brooch camera, watched Derek's face as Dr. Morrison shut him down. He wasn't concerned. He was furious that someone had interfered with his plan. The countdown had begun. We'd finished the lamb. The plates were mostly clean. The wine had flowed freely, too freely for Vanessa, who was on her 3rd glass and had stopped pretending to be pleasant. "So have you thought about it?" Derek asked, setting down his fork with a deliberate clink. "What we discussed, the trust arrangement." "I've thought about it," I said carefully, "and I'm going to need more time." "Time for what?" Vanessa slurred slightly. "Time to be more selfish?" "Vanessa," Felix warned. But she was drunk and angry and done pretending. "No, I'm serious. Mother Fairchild, you're sitting in this mansion alone. You have 3 empty bedrooms. You only use one. Meanwhile, Felix and I are in a 1-bedroom apartment that costs $3,000 a month. And you won't even consider..." "I said I need more time." "We don't have more time." Vanessa's voice rose. "Do you know what it's like out there? Do you know how hard it is for our generation? You had everything handed to you. You bought this house for probably $50,000 back in the 70s. 1976, I said quietly. 47,000. And we saved for 7 years for the down payment. Well, now it's worth $2 million, and you're hoarding it like some— Vanessa, that's enough. Isadora's voice cut through the room. But Derek saw his opening. He stood, placing his napkin on the table with careful precision. No, let her speak, because she's right. Opal, you're being selfish. The word again. I'm being selfish, I repeated slowly, because I won't sign over my house to you. Because you won't think about anyone but yourself. Derek's voice rose. Your children are struggling. Isadora lost her job 8 months ago. Did you know that? I looked at my daughter. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Felix is barely making rent. Your grandchildren— We don't have grandchildren, I said. You could, if we had the resources, if we had the space, but you're too busy clinging to memories to think about the future, about your family's future. This house is full of memories of my husband, I said, my voice hardening. Thomas and I built this life together. Every room, every piece of furniture, every— Thomas is dead, Derek shouted. He's been dead for 2 years, and you're using his ghost as an excuse to abandon your living children. Isadora flinched. Felix looked at his plate. I stood slowly, my arthritis real and painful. I think you should leave. We're not done talking about this, Derek said. Yes, we are. Opal, don't be stupid. We're not asking. We're telling you. We've documented everything. The falls, the confusion, the memory problems. We have a doctor. You have Dr. Raymond Pike, I said quietly. The geriatric psychiatrist who's currently under investigation by the medical board for fraudulent competency evaluations. That doctor? Derek's face went white. Yes, I continued. I know about Dr. Pike. I know about your plan to have me declared incompetent. I know about the bankruptcy in Florida, Derek. I know about the embezzlement, Felix. I know about the loans, Isadora. I know everything. The silence in the room was absolute. Mom, Isadora started. Get out of my house. You're making a huge mistake, Derek said, his voice low and dangerous. The only mistake I made was thinking you were family. That's when Vanessa threw the wine glass. I saw it coming. I could have dodged. 70 years old or not, I saw the arc of her arm, the crystal glass leaving her hand, the red wine arcing through the air like blood. I didn't move. The glass hit my temple with a wet crack. Crystal shattered. Wine exploded across my face, my white blouse, my grandmother's cameo brooch, and blood. My blood, hot and real, mixing with the wine. The room froze. Isadora gasped. Felix jumped to his feet. Derek's expression shifted from anger to calculation in a heartbeat. Vanessa stared at her empty hand, horrified. I touched my temple. My fingers came away red. The cut was deep above my left eye, bleeding freely the way head wounds do. Vanessa started. You assaulted me, I said quietly. It was an accident. Derek jumped in immediately. You saw it. She was gesturing. The glass slipped. She threw it at me. Mom, you're bleeding, Felix said, moving toward me. I stepped back. Don't touch me. I walked calmly to the hallway, picked up my purse, took out my phone. I'm calling the police. Wait! Isadora's voice was panicked. Mom, please, let's just— Are you sure you want to do that, Opal? Derek's voice was cold now, all pretense gone. Because there are 4 of us here. 4 witnesses who will say you attacked Vanessa first, that you've been having violent episodes, that you're a danger to yourself and others. Who do you think the police will believe? 4 concerned family members? Or 1 confused old woman with a documented history of falls and memory problems? I looked at him. Really looked at him. This was a man who would let his wife commit assault and then use it to have me committed. I looked at my daughter, trembling against the wall. I looked at my son, useless and weak. I looked at Vanessa, drunk and terrified, and I made a choice. You're right, I said, my voice small and frightened. The perfect performance. I'm confused. I must have— Maybe I did misunderstand. I should go lie down. I set down the phone. Derek's expression shifted to triumph. That's very wise, Opal. Very wise. Why don't you rest? We'll clean up here, and tomorrow we'll talk about getting you some help. The right kind of help." I nodded, walked up the stairs, locked my bedroom door, and waited. I sat at my vanity, examining my reflection in the mirror. Blood matted my silver hair, running in thin streams down my temple, soaking into the collar of my white blouse. The cut was real, deep enough to scar. Good. I opened the hidden drawer beneath my jewelry box, the one Thomas had installed, the one no one knew about, and pulled out my field kit. The same kit I'd carried for 30 years of FBI work. Antiseptic, butterfly bandages, gauze, a professional camera. First, photographs. I documented the wound from 6 angles, the shattered crystals still embedded in my hairline, the wine-blood mixture staining my clothes. Each photo was time-stamped, geotagged, admissible. Then I pulled out the shard of glass with steady fingers. More blood welled up. I cleaned the wound with antiseptic that stung like hellfire and didn't make a sound. Butterfly bandages pulled the edges together. Gauze pad. Medical tape. 30 years of documenting crime scenes had taught me one thing. Evidence doesn't lie. My secure phone buzzed. A text from Benjamin Shaw, who was monitoring the camera feeds remotely. "Jesus Christ, Opal, are you all right?" I typed back with blood still wet on my fingers. "Perfect. Phase 1 complete. They took the bait. You let her hit you. I needed it to be real. You could have been blinded." But I wasn't. I set down the phone and walked to my closet, pushed aside the winter coats, pressed the hidden switch. The wall panel slid open with a pneumatic hiss, revealing my monitoring room. 6 screens glowed in the darkness, each showing a different angle of my house. Downstairs, they were still in my dining room. I sat down in front of the monitors and turned up the audio. Derek was pacing, his earlier rage replaced by cold calculation. "Okay, this is actually good. She's scared. She knows she's outnumbered." "Derek, she was bleeding," Isadora said, her voice shaking. "A lot. What if she needs stitches? What if nothing? She's fine. Old people bleed easily. Thin skin, it looks worse than it is." Vanessa was crying, mascara running down her face. "I didn't mean to. I was so angry." "Shut up," Derek snapped. "Both of you. Listen to me. This is our moment. She's upstairs, frightened, confused. Tomorrow morning we call Dr. Pike. We file the emergency competency petition. By tomorrow afternoon she'll be in a 72-hour psychiatric hold." "We can't just," Isadora started. "We can and we will. She assaulted Vanessa first, remember? Vanessa was defending herself. That's our story. 4 witnesses. 1 confused old woman. The math is simple." Felix, who'd been silent this whole time, finally spoke. "What about her lawyer, Benjamin Shaw?" She mentioned him. "Shaw can't do anything if she's been declared incompetent. The petition supersedes everything. And once we have power of attorney..." Derek smiled. "Once we have that, we have it all." I watched my daughter's face on the screen. She looked sick. "Derek, maybe we should wait. Just a few days. Let her calm down." "We're out of time." Derek's voice cracked with desperation. "The loan sharks are coming for that $180,000 in 3 days, Isadora. 3 days. They're not going to wait for your mother's feelings to get unconfused." Isadora's face crumpled. I know. She looks so small up there. So scared." "Good. Scared is what we need." Felix pulled out his phone. "The company cleared my investigation. Did I tell you guys? The missing money just appeared. They called it an accounting error." Derek's eyes narrowed. "When did this happen?" "Last month, November 3rd. "And you didn't think that was suspicious?" Felix shrugged. "I figured it was just corporate incompetence. You know how these things are." I leaned closer to the screen. This was it. This was the moment Felix could have been honest, could have questioned the miracle, could have called me and asked if I'd somehow helped him. He didn't. Derek was staring at him. "Someone paid it, you idiot. Someone made this go away for you." "Who would..." Felix's face went pale. "No, she wouldn't. She doesn't even know about— Your mother was FBI forensics for 30 years. You think she doesn't know how to find things? The room went silent. If she paid it, Vanessa said slowly, if she already fixed Felix's problem, why would she still be making us beg? Because she's testing us, Isadora whispered. Oh God, she's testing us. Derek slammed his hand on the table. It doesn't matter, don't you see? It doesn't matter if she knows or doesn't know, if she paid or didn't pay. What matters is that house. What matters is $2 million in equity and whatever else she's hiding. She had one child. She had you two, and you're entitled to it. Entitled, Isadora repeated hollowly. Yes, entitled. You're her children. You've put up with her controlling behavior, her judgment, her manipulation for 40 years. You've earned this. I watched my daughter's face, watched the moment she could have said no, could have walked away. She didn't. What do we do? She asked. At 11:47 p.m., I watched them gather on my front porch. They thought I was asleep. The light in my bedroom had been off for 2 hours. They'd seen me take my sleeping pills, the placebo vitamins I'd been pretending were medication for months. Felix pulled a key from his pocket. The key I'd given him 2 years ago, right after Thomas's funeral, when I'd asked him to check on the house while I was visiting my sister in Maine. The key I'd never asked him to return. The key that was registered in my security system, tagged with his name so that every entry would be logged and recorded. Are we really doing this? Vanessa whispered, sober now and terrified. We don't have a choice, Felix said, but his hand shook as he inserted the key into the lock. This is breaking and entering, Isadora said. We're crossing a line. Derek's voice was hard. Your mother crossed the line when she refused to help her own children, when she chose cats and charities over her own blood. We're just retrieving what's already ours. The lock clicked. The door opened. They stepped into my foyer like burglars, which is exactly what they were. I switched the main monitor to a 4-way split screen. Foyer, living room, study, master bedroom. Watched them fan out like a military operation. Derek went straight to my study. I watched him rifle through my desk drawers, finding the fake will I'd planted there 3 weeks ago. The one dated last year, leaving everything to my beloved children, Isadora and Felix, in equal shares. Jackpot, he breathed. She hasn't changed it yet. If we can get her to sign a new one before Shaw intervenes— Vanessa was in my bedroom trying the safe. The safe Thomas had installed in our closet, visible and obvious. What's the combination? She called down the hallway. Try her birthday, Felix called back. October 19th, 10/19/52. Beep, access denied. Try Dad's birthday, Felix again. April 17th, 4/17/52. Beep, access denied. I watched them try 5 more combinations. Thomas's birthday, their wedding anniversary, Felix's birthday. Not once did either of them try Isadora's birthday. My daughter stood in Thomas's office, the room I'd kept exactly as he left it, his reading glasses still on the desk, his favorite book still open to page 247. She hesitated there, her hand touching his chair. For a moment I thought I saw something. Regret, shame, the ghost of the daughter I used to know. Then Derek called from the hallway. Isadora, your dad's desk. Check it. Now. And she did. She opened Thomas's drawers, dumped out his papers, pawed through his personal effects like they were garage sale items. And that's when she found the letter. I zoomed in on the camera feed, watched her pull out the envelope, addressed in Thomas's handwriting. To Isadora and Felix. To be opened when you need it most. She stared at it for a long moment. Then, without reading it, she slipped it into her pocket. She was going to steal her own father's last words to her. That's when I knew. That's when I really, truly knew that Thomas had been right. These weren't my children anymore. 1:47 a.m. They'd torn through every room, finding nothing. No cash, no jewelry worth taking. I'd moved it all months ago. No bank documents, no keys to safety deposit boxes. They were in my bedroom now, all 4 of them, frustrated and desperate. Derek was on his hands and knees checking under the bed. There has to be something. She didn't just liquidate everything. Old people don't work that way. They hoard. Maybe she really did move it all, Felix said. Or maybe she's smarter than we thought, Isadora said quietly. I pressed the button on my console. My voice filled the room, coming from speakers hidden in every corner, omnipresent and calm. You're both right. Vanessa screamed. They all spun around looking for me, looking at the walls, the ceiling, each other. Mom, Felix's voice cracked. Where are you? I'm watching you, I said. I've been watching you all night. Every room in this house has cameras. Every word you've said has been recorded. Every law you've broken has been documented. Derek recovered first. You're bluffing. This is some kind of... Vanessa, the safe combination is your sister-in-law's birthday. March 3rd, 03/03/84. Felix, I'm disappointed you never tried it. Felix's face went white. He hadn't known. His own sister's birthday. The cameras are real, Derek, I continued. Military grade. Installed 6 months ago by FBI surveillance specialists. Everything you've done tonight. Breaking and entering, attempted theft, conspiracy. It's all on video. All admissible. All enough to send you to prison for 5 to 7 years. You can't, Derek started. Isadora, the letter you took from your father's desk. The one in your pocket right now. Read it. My daughter's hands were shaking as she pulled out the envelope. She tore it open with trembling fingers. Isadora read aloud, her voice breaking on every word. My dearest Isadora and Felix, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if I'm gone, it means your mother is facing something I always feared. You. Not the children you were. The people you've become. Isadora, my brilliant girl, do you remember when you were 12? You stole $47 from the PTA bake sale to buy that boy in your class a birthday present. You thought it would make him like you. Your mother found out. She could have punished you, embarrassed you, told the school. She didn't. She sat you down in the kitchen and asked one question. Do you know why this was wrong? You cried and said, because I stole. And she said, no, baby, because you thought you had to buy love. Real love is free. If someone makes you pay for it every day, it isn't love. You're married to a man who makes you pay for his love every single day. And you've forgotten that the woman who taught you that lesson would never ask you to pay for hers. Felix, my son, you've never faced a real consequence in your life. That's my fault. I gave you everything. I made you feel entitled to everything. I'm sorry. That was my failure as a father. But what you do with that knowledge now, that's yours. Here's what you both need to know. Your mother is the strongest person I've ever met. She tracked criminals through 17 countries. She put senators in prison. She dismantled cartels. If you come for her money, you won't win. She'll see you coming before you take the first step. But here's what she won't tell you. She doesn't want to beat you. She wants to save you. This whole thing, the confusion, the falls, the memory problems, it's a test. I know because I helped her design it before I died. She's been watching you for 6 months, praying you'd choose honesty over greed. She paid Felix's debt. Did you know that, son? $60,000. Anonymous payment. November 3rd. She gave you a miracle and waited to see if you'd confess, if you'd thank her, if you'd be honest. You weren't. She could have cut you off 6 months ago, but she kept hoping, kept testing, kept praying you'd be the children we raised. So here's my question, from beyond the grave. Are you going to prove her right about you? Or are you going to be better than she fears? The choice, as always, is yours. I love you both. I forgive you in advance for whatever you're about to do. But your mother won't, and she shouldn't. Dad. Silence. Isadora was crying. Real tears, the kind that come from somewhere deep and broken. The letter slipped from her hands and fell to the floor. Felix looked like he'd been gutted. She paid it. She knew. She helped me, and I never... Shut up, Derek hissed. Both of you, shut up. This is manipulation. This is the truth, I said, my voice filling the room again. And here's some more truth. The front door is magnetically sealed. You're not leaving until I allow it. The police are 3 minutes away. I called them 15 minutes ago. You're kidnapping us, Derek shouted at the ceiling. You broke into my home. I'm exercising my right to detain intruders until law enforcement arrives. It's called citizen's arrest, Derek. I'm sure you've heard of it. Vanessa was sobbing. Felix had slid down the wall, sitting on my bedroom floor with his head in his hands. Isadora just stared at the letter on the ground. I'm going to give you one chance, I said. One, the police are coming, but I haven't told them what charges to file yet. If you confess honestly, completely, to each other and to me, I'll tell them this was a misunderstanding. You'll walk away. No charges. The final test. Felix looked up. Mom. Yes. I'll confess. I stole from my company. I've been lying. Not to me, Felix. To each other. I watched them on the screens. Watched them look at each other like strangers. Isadora, I said. Did you know Derek has been stealing from the trust fund your grandmother left you? The one that was supposed to be untouchable? He's taken $43,000 over 2 years. Isadora's head snapped toward her husband. What? Derek, did you know Vanessa has been having an affair with your business partner? The one who supposedly lost your crypto investments? He didn't lose them. They split them. Chaos. Vanessa screaming denials. Derek lunging at Felix, thinking he'd told. Isadora backing away from all of them, her hand over her mouth. I watched them turn on each other. Watched the alliance shatter. Watched them reveal exactly what they were. Desperate people who'd never trusted each other, who'd only worked together because they had a common enemy. Me. Sirens wailed in the distance. I pressed the button that unlocked the front door and emerged from my hidden room. The bookcase swung open with a mechanical hiss. I stepped out into the hallway, and 4 faces turned toward me in horror. I'd cleaned the blood off, put on a fresh blouse, combed my hair. The wound on my temple was covered with a neat bandage. I looked exactly like what I was, a woman in complete control. Behind me, Benjamin Shaw stepped out of the hidden room, his briefcase in hand, and behind him, 2 police officers, Officer Patricia Reeves and Officer Marcus Stone. Hello, family, I said. Mom, Felix choked out. You were here the whole time. Did you think I'd run? I asked. Hide? I told you exactly what I was going to do. I told you I'd be watching. You just didn't believe me. Officer Reeves stepped forward, her hand resting on her belt. Mrs. Fairchild? Yes. These 4 individuals broke into my home at 11:47 p.m. I have video evidence. They assaulted me earlier this evening. I touched my bandaged temple and returned to rob me. Derek tried his charm offensive. Officers, this is a misunderstanding. This is my mother-in-law. We're family. We were worried about her. She's been having episodes. Sir, Officer Reeves cut him off, her voice flat. Do you have permission to be here at 1 a.m.? Well, no, but I handed her a folder. Video evidence, time-stamped, audio recordings of their planning session earlier this evening, and photographs of the assault. Officer Stone reviewed the documents, his face growing harder with each page. Mrs. Fairchild, Reeves said carefully, these are serious charges. Breaking and entering, attempted grand larceny, conspiracy, and assault with a deadly weapon. You understand what this means? I was FBI forensic accounting for 30 years, officer. I understand exactly what it means. And you want to press charges? This was the moment, the point of no return. I looked at my children. Isadora was crying silently, Thomas's letter clutched in her hand. Felix was on his knees, literally begging. Mom, please, we'll pay you back. We'll make it right. Just don't. Pay me back with what, Felix? You have nothing. You are nothing. You had a miracle handed to you, your debt erased, your crime forgiven, and you took it as permission to commit more crimes. I didn't know it was you. And if you had known, would you have been grateful, or would you have asked for more? He couldn't answer. I turned to Isadora. Did you read your father's letter before you stole it? Or were you planning to burn it, like you burned every other piece of evidence of who you used to be? I'm sorry, she whispered. Mama, I'm so sorry. Are you sorry that you did it? Or sorry you got caught? She opened her mouth, closed it. The answer was written all over her face. I pulled out a second letter from my pocket. This one addressed to me. Your father wrote me a letter too. He gave it to me a week before he died. He said, Opal, if you're reading this, they failed. I'm so sorry. I know you hoped. But sometimes the kindest thing we can do is let people face consequences. They made their choices. Let them go. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in my pocket. Officer Reeves, I want to press full charges. All of them. For all 4. Mom, no! Felix screamed. You can't. The loan sharks, they'll kill me if I go to prison. I won't be able to pay. The debt is paid, you idiot, I shouted, my composure finally cracking. I paid it. In November. You've been free for months. There are no loan sharks coming for you. There never were. You've been free and you chose to come here and rob me anyway. The words echoed in the hallway. Felix stared at me, the full weight of his betrayal finally hitting him. Take them, I said to the officers. Spring had come to my garden. The roses were blooming. Thomas's roses, the ones he'd planted the year we bought the house. I'd thought about tearing them out after he died. Now I was glad I hadn't. I sat on the porch swing reading when Margaret Sullivan's car pulled into the driveway. I brought the legal updates, she said, settling beside me with a folder. And coffee, the good stuff. You're a saint. I'm a meddling old woman who should have retired properly instead of helping you commit psychological warfare against your own children. You didn't help me commit anything. You helped me defend myself. She sighed. Derek and Vanessa took plea deals, 18 months each, eligible for parole in 12. And my children? Margaret's face softened. Felix took the deal, 2 years. He'll be out in 14 months with good behavior. She pulled a letter from the folder. He wrote you something. I looked at the envelope, my name in Felix's handwriting. Burn it, I said. Opal, I don't need his apologies, Maggie. I need him to learn, and he won't if I keep saving him. He's your son. He was my son. Now he's a stranger who needs to face consequences. Margaret nodded slowly. And Isadora? This was harder. What about her? She refused the plea. She's going to trial. She wants to testify. She says she wants to apologize. Publicly. I said nothing. She's been going to therapy. Real therapy, not court-ordered. She filed for divorce from Derek. Margaret touched my hand. She's trying, Opal. Trying to what? Trying to manipulate me with a redemption arc? Trying to avoid prison? Maybe. Or maybe trying to be the daughter you used to know. I closed my eyes, felt the sun on my face, smelled Thomas's roses. If she's sincere, I said quietly, she'll accept the consequences and serve her time. If she's sincere, she won't ask me for forgiveness until she's earned it. If she's sincere, maybe in 5 years, after she's out, after she's rebuilt her life without my money or my help, maybe then we can talk. That's very measured of you. That's very painful of me, but it's what's right. A car pulled up. A young woman got out, nervous, clutching a portfolio. Mrs. Fairchild? I'm Maya Torres. I'm here for the scholarship interview. I stood smiling. Maya, come in. Tell me about your interest in forensic accounting. Margaret watched this with raised eyebrows. The trust. You're using it for scholarships. The Fairchild Family Trust. For students who want to hunt monsters. Thomas would approve. Maya followed me inside, chattering about her coursework, her internship applications, her dreams. Can I ask, she said hesitantly, why forensic accounting specifically? Why that field? I looked at the photo on my desk. New family photo. Me, Thomas, Margaret, and 12 of my former students, my chosen family. Because the worst monsters don't look like monsters, dear. They look like people you trust. They look like family. And someone needs to stop them. Later that night, alone in my house, my peaceful, quiet house, I sat in Thomas's chair and pulled out his letter one more time. Read the last paragraph I hadn't shared with anyone. And Opal, when this is over, when you've done what needs to be done, don't let grief and anger be the only things left. Build something new. The children we raised are gone, but that doesn't mean you have to be alone. Find your people, the ones who chose you, not the ones who shared your blood. That's real family. That's what I want for you. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be free. I love you forever, Thomas. I folded the letter and placed it back in the drawer. He was right. I was free. The house was quiet. But it wasn't empty. Tomorrow, Maya would come back for her second interview. Next week, 2 more scholarship candidates. Next month, Margaret was hosting a dinner party here, bringing 6 of our old colleagues. I'd lost my children, but I'd saved myself. And in the end, that was enough.